Hey, this is Elijah with the Oxygen team, and in this video we're going to revisit a pretty popular topic, which is off-canvas menus. We've shown you how to build these by hand using the Oxygen modal element, but now we're going to take a look at creating an off-canvas menu using the Pro menu element. The Pro menu element has a ton of configuration options, so we're going to dig in a little bit and show a real-world use case for the Pro menu element in this video. So let's jump into Oxygen and get started. What I have here is from our conference design set. I went ahead and loaded up the front page from that design set and changed a few of the text items to be more appropriate. And we're going to assume a couple of things in this video. We're going to assume, one, that we want an off-canvas menu even for the desktop site. And two, that we want this menu and the header as a whole to be sticky as you scroll down the page. So with those two assumptions, we know we need to get started with a header builder element. So let's go ahead and go over here to add and search for header. And there's our header builder. So we'll click that to add it in. And I'd like for it to be at the top of the page. So let's drag that up. Perfect. Now we've got a header here to work with. So we'll just make a quick little text logo out of a text element. So we'll go add, type text. There it is. And let's just call this off canvas all together. And we'll set it to 32 pixels, change the color to one of our cool global colors we have here. Maybe this red or this one. Nope, I like this one. Let's try the orange. No way. Go back to the red. Perfect. Okay, so we'll stick with that red. And the font family is fine, but we could grab something from Google Fonts if we want. Let's see. Oswald. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now we'll call that our logo as part of our header. Now, one thing that might inform what we do with this is if we wanted an overlay state for the header, then we'd have to make sure this text for our logo looked good over top of our background here. So if we select the header builder and go to overlay and tell it to always overlay, you can see there that red blends in a little bit. So let's go ahead and just do an overlay header, and we'll go ahead and change this color to this white here. Perfect. Now we also want this header to be sticky. So we're going to go back to the header builder here, and we're going to go to sticky, and we're going to enable sticky header. And then the sticky background color, we want it to be something that works with our white text. So it's important to take that into consideration. In this case, I think we can do this red color that we were going to do for the logo. So let's scroll down and see what that looks like. Looks fantastic. Wonderful. So that's what we'll go with. So now we know we have to work with lighter colored elements so that they can overlay and look good on these orange and red backgrounds. Now for the real star of the show, let's add a Pro menu element. So I just searched for Pro, and it's the first item that comes up. Let's toss that in there, and we're going to drag it over to row right here because we want it across the way from our header. Now, that blue is hurting my eyes. We don't want that, but again, we're going to do an off-canvas menu even for the desktop site, which is fairly common these days, and the upside of it is that you don't have to worry about designing your menu twice. You just design your desktop menu basically as a mobile menu, and then it works on phones and mobile devices as well, which is super awesome. Anything that saves you a little bit of work and makes things easier on the user is a win in my book. So to make this thing an off-canvas menu even on the desktop, we're going to go to mobile menu / toggle below, and we're going to say always, which is going to give us our menu text and our icon. And now we'll just work our way down through the controls. We're going to ignore desktop menu for now. We'll probably end up having to jump in there for a couple of things, but we're going to go ahead and go to the mobile menu settings to get this thing styled up. So we've got the open icon layout, and we're just going to use Font Awesome, but you can also use linear icons or any other icon set that you've uploaded in Oxygen. So for this, let's just go with a classic kind of menu symbol. I believe there is a hamburger icon in here. Let's just scroll down and find that, and we'll just use that for our menu. And there it is, so we'll click that. And that's kind of the universally understood icon for a mobile menu or an off-canvas menu, so we'll play it safe here. And we can change this icon text, but in this case, I think I want it to say open instead of menu. So we'll just swap that out, and then the icon size I think is fine-ish, but I think I want to go 32 pixels to make it a little bit more clickable on mobile. And then a little bit of margin on the right. We'll do like 16 pixels. Give it a lot of breathing room there. And then I think what I want to do is I want to make the background of the icon area white. And then I want to make the icon this red color to do a nice little contrast there. And then we won't change it on hover. The text we actually will change here in a minute. Padding, hover color, we won't change. We can change the border radius here and the transition duration, but for this setup, we do not need to. So let's jump back up here, and we're going to go to the next section, which is going to be open icon typography. Let's go ahead and set this to Oswald as well, which normally you would set these up in the global font settings, but in this case, we're skipping that step and just setting it explicitly for the elements here. So font size, I think it needs to be maybe a little bit bigger. Let's see, not quite that big. Maybe 22? No, let's do 18. Perfect. And then let's change it to be maybe orange. No, let's go with red. We don't want it to look like a rainbow or an explosion of colors. Unless you really know what you're doing with colors, you should limit yourself to probably one primary color with several shades, lighter and darker, maybe one secondary color, and then grays. That's really the safest thing to do if you are not a designer. So that looks good. I think that's enough for the open icon. We'll go ahead and save. And then if we click, we can just see how it's going to behave here in the preview. Now this probably looks familiar if you've used our regular menu element. This is the full screen mobile menu that thing ships with. But in our case, we want to do an off canvas menu. So let's go ahead and get that set up. We're going to jump back over here. We're going to go to menu styles, and we're going to check off canvas. Now if we click our menu element, it's going to pop out from the side. Now there's a few things we want to do here. That obviously looks really dumb. We don't want it that narrow and skinny on the side. So we're going to set the items min width to something like maybe 300 pixels, which is going to shove everything out. And actually, let's take that down a bit. Let's do these at like, let's try maybe 80%. And then we're going to set the off-canvas width to 300 pixels. And then we're going to change our off-canvas alignment to right so that it comes in on that side. And the off-canvas animation is going to be, we're going to do a slide left so that it all kind of fits together there. Now if we go up and close this and reopen it, you can see it is nicely animated, and we have our menu items here. Now we need to style up the actual menu items and things like that. So the animation duration's okay. Let's leave the background color as white. Let's change the link text color to this red to kind of match the whole scheme we're doing, and we'll leave it the same on hover. Actually, let's do maybe a slightly transparent version of that. Yeah, just to have a little bit of an effect there. And then container padding. So here's a trick with the Pro menu. You don't want your links to overlap the close icon, and if you have a lot of submenu items in one of your drop downs, then it can happen because when you toggle it to expand that submenu, it kind of shoves everything up to the top until it can't go any further. It's the top of the container, which unfortunately can go under that close icon. So to combat that, I like to add between 32 64 pixels of padding to the top of the container. And in this case, we'll do that to top and bottom, and then we'll do something like 16 pixels of padding on the left and right. Now we can play with the item text align, center, right, whatever we want to do, but left is usually the safest bet. Now, are there any other settings here we want? No. So now we want to get that close icon dealt with because I'm not a big fan of how it looks right now with everything else being styled in this particular fashion. So we're going to go to close icon layout, and I'm fine with the X button, but I actually don't want any text. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now we just have our simple X icon. But I do want my X icon to be more towards the right-hand side of the menu. So I'm going to go down to icon position left, change it to a percentage unit, and set it to something like 90%. And you can adjust this just depending on what you want, but about right there looks good. We're going to change the icon color to our red color here and take a look and see if there's anything else we want to fiddle with. And I think we're good. So let's go ahead and save, and let's jump over to the front end and just look at what we have so far. Now you can see here we've got our off canvas, open, all that fun stuff. If we scroll down, it continues to stay sticky, and we can still click our off canvas menu and close, open, close. It's so nice and smooth. And then we've got our menu here, which is just the default placeholder menu that Oxygen puts in place. But we can also toggle these drop downs. Now, not a big fan of this default style here, so I'm going to go back over and let's just make some adjustments to the actual drop downs here. So we're going to go back to the primary tab in the Pro menu, and we're going to go to mobile drop downs. Now we've got them set to toggle, which I do want, but I'm not so sure I want a toggle background color. So I'm going to clear that for now and just make it transparent, and we can always adjust it if we want. Now the border top is useful because it kind of helps denote submenus. If you have a lot of submenus, it's good if your users have some visual indication that they're looking at a submenu and not a top level menu item. So let's go ahead and set this to our global color here, and we'll just expand this out so we can see what we're doing. It's way too wide, so we're going to set it to maybe 1 pixel, and that gives us a much cleaner look. Now let's play with this background color and see if there's something we like. Now, I like that kind of gentle gray, but we also have some colors here we might be able to use. We don't want that. That looks terrible. Not that. Okay, so I think if we go with the black and then make it mostly transparent to get kind of a very soft gray effect, I think that looks pretty good. Now, one issue we have there is that these drop-down links are right on the edge of the background. So we can fix that by going back and going to mobile menu, menu styles, and go down, and here we have link padding. Let's just add, I don't know, the slightest bit of link padding, maybe 8 pixels on the left. And in fact, we can do that all the way around if we want a little bit more room. And for mobile, not always a bad idea. So we'll leave it like that for now. Now, the final thing I want to address is our little drop-down icon there. Doesn't really look the best. It's way too big. So let's go back and go to the primary tab here and go to mobile drop-downs. And we're going to change the drop-down icon size a little bit. Now, even though we're adjusting this to be quite a bit smaller, the clickable area is still going to be big enough to be toggled on mobile by a touch. So you can have a very tiny icon and it's still pretty usable. So let's try setting this to something like 16. And then what we're going to want to do is go change that icon, which this inherits from the desktop drop-down settings. So we'll need to go to primary, go to desktop drop-downs, and we're going to go to drop-down icon. And let's get rid of this bar search here. And I'm a big fan of like a simple plus icon or something like that. In this case, we can actually just use an X. And what we can do is we can change its default rotation to, I think, negative 45 degrees, which turns it into a plus. And then open rotation is 0. So then when we open her up, it will turn into an X, which kind of indicates, click that again to close things out, which is a nice little UX touch. Let's add a little bit of margin on the left-hand side to move it out away from its parent item. And now that we have this icon, we might want it even smaller. So let's go back to primary, mobile drop-downs, drop-down icon size, and let's try something like 14. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So now let's save. And let's jump back into the front end and let's play with what we've made. So again, we have it here at the top. It's in an overlay state. If we click it, it comes out. Now, don't mind the fact that our little close icon is a little bit under the admin bar because your visitors most likely will not have an admin bar. If they do, say they're going to be logged in and have this admin bar, you can adjust the top spacing there in the Pro menu settings to move that icon down. So let's close that out. Let's scroll down and then let's open it again. Perfect. And then let's look at our drop-down menu, and that looks great. So there we have, pretty quickly, we created a nice off-canvas menu that looks great on desktop. Now, here's the real test. How is it on mobile? So let's go ahead and let's size this down. I'm going to inspect, and I've already got it down to really small. I mean, 320 pixels is pretty rare in a mobile device these days. But I like to test pretty small just to handle most use cases. So right here, we've got our off-canvas menu icon with the accompanying text. And to me, this looks like a nice mobile-friendly button. Everyone's going to know to click it. Because of the hamburger icon, they're going to know it's a menu. So when we tap it, it's going to go ahead and move out. And again, our icon is hiding behind this admin bar, which is not going to be an issue for logged out users. So let's go ahead and do an incognito window here, and we'll simulate that experience. So we'll right click, inspect, and let's open this up. There you go. So that's what it's going to look like for people on mobile devices. They tap this icon, open that up, navigate throughout your site with this really clean off-canvas menu that works fantastically for both desktop and mobile. And by doing an off-canvas menu for our desktop site, we cut out a bunch of work. We didn't have to style the desktop state at all, and we didn't have to do twice the work by having to style the desktop state and the mobile state. So again, this is Elijah with the Oxygen team, and that's how to build an off-canvas menu in Oxygen with the Pro Menu element. Thank you very much for watching.